though she's dancing in her bathing suit in her promo photo, Jenny has opted to wear clothing today. She will be sharing tips on how she engages with the public via her low-key business card activism. And then if time permits, something way more scary, approaching fur wearers and requesting they zip off the cruelty. So one activist, definitely two different comfort levels at play. And it can also be so disconcerting to hand someone a flyer only to have them mock, dismiss, or discard it. So veteran educator and activist Mary Chris will discuss the technique of targeted leafleting, the art of delivering the vegan message right into the hands, minds, and hearts of your intended audience and keeping it there. So please welcome badass activists Jenny McQueen and Mary Chris Staples.
Thank you, everybody. I'm here today to actually talk about outreach, a little bit more than just leafleting. But I know the word outreach is terrifying for some people. As soon as they hear it, they're like, no, that's not me, that's not me. So my goal today is to sort of change your mind a little bit about outreach and realize it's not just about handing out leaflets. Outreach is about much more, and it doesn't have to be quite as intimidating as you think it is. The purpose of outreach, obviously, is to involve the public in our cause by giving them education and also giving them opportunities that they can get involved and help us with our cause. Now, in the past, we've done a lot of outreach events, and really our main ask of the public was to go vegan, right? But we know now that that's not enough. Of course, we want to create more vegans, but as we know, creating more vegans, we cannot keep up with the global birth rate in our world. We need the public to not only go vegan, but to do something to help change our social systems. So whenever you are planning an event that involves outreach of some sort, you must include some kind of call to action for the public. And that can be, send an email, sign a petition, make a phone call, come and join us, do something to help, our cause. And a couple of really good examples of that are, you might know Fur Free Toronto, and they have these amazing cards that actually have a little QR code on them. And so when the public get them, they can actually go and do something. They can not wear fur, they can boycott fur, but they can also take it a step further. The Plant-Based Treaty is like that as well. Amazing QR code on there. And a lot of other groups, TAVA does the same thing, Not Your Skin. So always be aware that we want to ask people to do more than go vegan. This photo was taken a long time ago, and at that time, that was our main ask of people, was to go vegan. Nothing wrong with that at all, but we want to ask them for even more. And so as you can see in this photo, I am offering a leaflet to this gentleman, and the big question is, will he take it? Will he take it? And I honestly can't remember from this image whether he took it or not. But what I want you to learn today is it doesn't even matter whether he takes it or not. We're going to talk about a few techniques that can encourage that to happen. I was lucky to learn from one of the best in the business. His name is John Oberg. He was with Vegan Outreach for a lot of years. So he taught me a lot of the techniques. One of the techniques right there in that photo is I'm taking a little step forward. And he says, take a step in to offer the leaflet. Take a step back. Step in, step back. Seems really simple, but if you're just standing there statically, sometimes it's not as obvious to people that you're offering something. So take a step in. The other thing is to make sure that your leaflet is facing the person. So even if they don't take the leaflet, they have a quick glimpse of what it's all about, and maybe something resonates with them. You never know. So that's one of the things that we do. Step 2 is to say something to get their attention. So rather than just reaching out, you can, for me, the thing that I tend to say is, will you help animals? So I want to get the word animals in there somewhere. And the reason is, I've had people, I offer them something, I say, will you help animals? They walk on by, they get a few steps over, and they kind of go, what did you say? And I say, would you help animals? Oh yeah, I'll help animals. So that word stuck in their head, even though their thoughts were somewhere else, it gets their attention. Some people will say things like, do you love animals? And I used to say that, but I got a few snarky people that said, no, I hate animals or whatever. And also I just realized you don't have to love animals to want to help them. So that's just my choice in what I say. Another thing I'll say sometimes is, especially because people are often in a rush, they're running by, I'll just say, when you get a chance, will you take a look at this and help animals, right? So then they realize you're not trying to corner them to stop them at the spot, or you know, just take a look. That's all we ask. So it's just an appeal to them to take a look at it. Another thing that we try to do is, as you're handing them out, sometimes, you know, you're handing them out, people are taking them. People tend to do what the person in front of them have done. If someone doesn't take it, the next person doesn't take it, the next person doesn't take it, the next person. So sometimes you'll just maybe pause for a second, let that group go by, and then start fresh, hoping that you get a good group that's going to take the information. What else? I should have said this right at the beginning. Be prepared that not everyone's going to take your leaflet. Okay, that's the reality. They're not all going to take your leaflet, and for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes people are just walking along, their heads in the clouds, they're thinking about 1,000 other things in this world. Animal rights is not one of them. So just because they're walking by an event doesn't mean they're going to quickly click into that. Their heads are just not in that space. So they might just go by and not take something. Obviously, they're the people who are going to just like be totally against anything animal rights, and they're going to say disgusting things or whatever. We're not going to reach those today. Our goal is to reach the people who are ready on that day, in that moment, to be a little bit open. So don't get discouraged when they go by and they don't take it. That's really, really important. And then another thing that is very important, and I'm not necessarily the best at this, but is to control your temper. So there are people who come by and say really hurtful things. And they're not hurtful to me personally, they're hurtful about animals. And that's really hard for us to hear. And I have lost it on many occasions, and I'm never, ever proud of myself afterwards. Now that's not to say there aren't times when being angry, being aggressive, or whatever are not totally appropriate. Like think of, you probably all know Rob Banks from New York City going after fur wearers, Len Goldberg, our own Jenny McQueen. There are times when I think it's perfectly appropriate to be shaming people, to raise that level, just not during outreach events necessarily. And I'll tell you why I really have that belief. There was one time a man and his daughter, she was probably about 10, came by. We were outside Novice, I think it was, and I offered him a card to say, you know, will you help animals? And he said, no, I'm not going to help animals. I love to eat animals. I love to wear animals. Now, there are times when I might have said something nasty back to him. I'm so glad I didn't in this moment. And I just said to him, it's a real shame your daughter had to hear you say such horrible things. Off they went. I carried on. About 10 minutes later, I saw them coming back. And so right away I'm thinking, oh gosh, what's he going to give me this time? I was prepared for the worst. But he came up and he said, I just want to apologize for the way I spoke to you. And I literally grabbed my heart. I could not believe what was happening. He said, I don't have any idea of why I spoke to you that. There's not really any reason. There's no reason we can't disagree on something and still be nice to each other. And I just said, do you know you have just taught your daughter the most important lesson in the world? That you can own up to your mistakes and you can apologize for them. And I looked at her and I said, do you know you have the best dad in the world? And she was beaming. Who knows if she had something to do with it. And then I said, can I hug you? And he said, yes, we hugged it out. And then I said, will you take the card? He said, I will take the card. That does not happen very often. It's very, very rare. There could be a lot of people who do go off and think that way and feel bad for how they reacted, but to actually get that. So I always try to keep that in mind, that when someone says something really, really rude, just control it, just control it, just control it. Another thing that is important is to have more than one leafleter if you can, because sometimes people want to stop and talk to you more to get more information. And while I'm talking to someone, I want to make sure my colleague is still handing out cards to people going by. So those are just some important things. Now, I know some of you are thinking, okay, that's all great. I still don't want to do it. It's not for me. I'm too shy. I just can't do that. That's perfectly fine. Before we do that, I forgot. I wanted to show you some of the best leafleters out there. I don't have Ian in there, but Ian never wants to be in pictures, so I can't get him. But one of the things I want to tell you, you don't have to be loud to be someone who gives out I just happen to be really loud. But most of the very, very, very best leafleters that I know are not loud. Jenny McQueen is not loud. And this is just a couple of weekends ago at the All-Star game. She's not, I mean, she can be, but when she's doing outreach, she's not. You all know Stephanie. Stephanie is one of the soft-spoken people in the world and one of the best outreachers you'll ever meet. There's Nicole Sapolovsky, not loud at all, manages to get a lot of leaflets in there. Verena Besso, I don't know if any of you know Verena. There she is on the bus giving someone not only a leaflet but a meatless meatball. This is a young student who was part of our group for a while, and she organized this at her school. Super soft-spoken. Our own Tim Theodore, very soft-spoken, but there he is. And that was Sarah from many years ago. And notice her stepping in technique. Excellent stepping in technique by Sarah. And here, one of the best you'll ever find, this is Jacinta McDonald handing someone a leaflet into the streetcar. Now, do you see what it says on that streetcar? Look what it says.
That's awesome. That's a great picture.
Like,
Wow.
honestly, what are the chances of that moment? Yeah, so some really amazing, amazing people. So, for those of you who are still not interested in handing out leaflets, it's okay. Here is a sample of someone who is holding a sign and doing outreach. He's not necessarily handing out leaflets. He is holding his sign so that someone can read his sign. That's all he has to do. He happens to be outgoing, so he's talking to people. Here's this woman on the side of the street. Her sign is definitely angled so that people will see it and get her message. Okay, so she doesn't have to talk to people. She doesn't have to give out anything. She just has to make sure people see her sign. Here we have a group of people holding signs, as we do at many, many events, but you'll notice they're focused. They're focused on the people who are coming by, and when you are focused on the people coming by, the people then want to look at you, and this woman is taking a photo of all of those signs. There's another one of Showman. This is back in St. Clair and Kiel days, and it's quite clear that anyone going by knows he wants them to read this sign. He's making it very clear this message is for you to look at that, just by turning his body and just by holding his sign. And I know that at a lot of our protests, what we'll do is we'll have people like all standing in a line in front of the store, and sometimes there are people who are thinking, oh, I'm too shy to do outreach. I'm just going to hold a sign. And I want to fix that misconception. Never are you just holding a sign. Your sign has a lot of information on it. It's got the images that we want people to see. It's got the words. The people handing out the leaflets don't necessarily have that information in their hands. So we're counting on people seeing your signs so that when they come by to us, they might be more willing to take that leaflet. So I call it intentional sign holding. Be aware that someone is looking at your sign. Be aware of where people are so that you can show them. So, for example, I hold this sign a lot when we're doing the Louis Vuitton ones. And if I notice a bunch of people are coming down the street this way, I will turn so that 2 or 3 doors down, they can already be seeing this. So by the time they get to the store, they know something's going on at Louis Vuitton. And then they might be out of whatever fog their head was in and might be a little bit more willing to take some information. Whereas in the 2 or 3 seconds they just go by the store, it might not be enough time for them to take it all in. So, and then I'll turn this way. People are walking this way down the street, so I can get their attention before they even get to where the protest is happening. And if everybody did that with their signs, we're just always intentionally looking for people and making it easier for those people to see those signs, we would maximize the opportunity for people to know what's going on at the event and potentially take some information from us. So the other beautiful thing about it, as you can see in this one, you can hide your face behind that sign. You don't have to talk to anyone. You don't have to hand them anything. You can find your direction and hide your face. So you can be shy, but you can still be very powerful. And it's about recognizing your power, even when you're holding a sign, and how you can do the best you can to raise the voices for animals, even if you're shy. One of the best in the world. If anybody knows Jarina, nobody uses her power carrying a sign like this. And that might not be you, but just look at the power. Anybody in those cars going by, looking at Jarina, they're seeing that sign and she's pointing to the slaughterhouse. And that's just, an extreme power of the holding the sign. So nobody is ever just holding a sign. It's a super, super important job. Be present and be engaged, connect with people, and together we maximize our voice for the animals. So I think that's it for my little part. Come on in, Jenny.
How do we follow this? Mary Chris is amazing.
Oh,
Amazing, so thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is part done by the criminal. Seriously, business cards are durable. They go in your pocket. They're easy to hand out. They're easy to design. It costs a few cents to produce. I use Vistaprint. They have a design tool that you use. I can share my design with you. You can log into my account on Vistaprint. You can produce them yourselves. You can put your name on them. You can choose not to put your name on them. There's so many different ways to use them. So Mary Chris was mainly talking about being at events. This is the type of activism you do outside events. So I always know that I've got the general cards on this side and I've got the fur cards on this side. Because sometimes, someone's approaching you and maybe they're wearing fur, and within a second, you know that that's real fur that you're wearing. And then if they're receptive, then they'll get the other card, which is all about being kind. So I see someone walking a dog in the streets. Hey, you're an animal lover. That's great. I see someone, with kids, and I do like kids. But hey, it's cute. It's a cute card for kids, and it's got cute pictures of animals. And then if I can get into a conversation with someone, then I'll just highlight a few things. There's Challenge 22 on the back. I think that's an essential link to say. There's Happy Cow. They can find wherever they want to eat vegan. There's all the documentaries that they can watch. There's the plant-based treaty that they can use the QR code for. And you're not getting out of this room without taking, at least a little bunch and then using them up in the next week. Because they're so easy to carry around. I mean, honestly, I could check you all now and see who's got cards on you if you've got your coats with you. And if not, so pass that around, and there's a selection of fur cards and of general outreach cards. And just drop me a message if you want to produce cards yourself. And I was going to just quickly promote other stuff as well. You're wearing your t-shirt with the message. Maybe you're drinking, there's lots of these cups that will be appearing soon at Wishbone by Susan Banks. You're drinking from a mug at work. You're wearing your buttons. If you're on the subway, I know not everyone's comfortable, but you hang that up and you watch the reactions. This is really fun. Use this for a kind of fun event. And it's kind of nice because it moves along. Maybe you're walking along and you're just kind of walking along with this, on the subway. You can be shy and have all your tools of the activism trade, honestly. Maybe you've got a couple of, bigger leaflets in your bag too. And this is how an animal activist walks around and carries their bag and has their business. So, thank you.
Thank you everyone for your kind attention. There are no doubt thousands of simple ways that we can stand up for our beloved animal friends. Here today we've touched on just a handful of them, so I hope through this mini workshop you will be encouraged to incorporate these easy-peasy everyday tips. And finally, Just to mention that Wishbone Animal Rights Lab is a volunteer-driven, largely self-funded initiative. Donations allow us to host more community-building events, develop more programming, conduct more workshops, create more content, purchase more equipment and literature, and cover our monthly art costs. The begging portion is over. Thank you again. I really appreciate everybody coming.